Here's a fun one for you. 6 batted down balls by Deshaun Lynch, tied for the nation lead with 6.
Wow, that's fantastic.
We haven't given up more than 24 points all year, boys.
You did it without a lot of your stars. We got to see a cool different mix on the offensive line. We saw Jordan Washington, Adam Muhammad. We saw different wide receivers. You saw Audric Harris. You saw Amari.
Ninja asked as well, and it's pretty much like, give me like the hottest flip to UW take. Guesses for who the next flip to UW will be. I'll let you take that one, Izzo.
You're talking about recruiting?
Yeah.
I would assume, yeah.
If you can't say the name, I mean, maybe a position.
Welcome to the Dubbed Up Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Flaunt. After a terrible week in Wisconsin, we get to celebrate after beating the brakes off of Purdue. We'll get into that. We'll get into the UCLA preview, some Q&A, and then our picks. Like, subscribe, leave a comment, go join the Discord. The link is down in the bio. All right, I got my guys Izzo and Noah with me. Fellas, man, it feels good to be back on the winning side again, especially in the manner in which we did it. It was nice to beat them 49-13. Izzo, what were your takeaways from this game? I know it had to feel good after a crappy week the week before.
Yeah. I mean, Fisch called it in his presser. It felt like the most complete game. You did it without a lot of your stars. We got to see a cool different mix on the offensive line. We saw Jordan Washington, Adam Muhammad. We saw different wide receivers. You saw Audric Harris. You saw Amari. It was just cool to see us dominate a Big Ten, opponent without Jonah, without Denzel. Like that's fantastic. And Drew Azzopardi, and then see us mesh it up and put 2 freshmen on the same side of the offensive line and still dominate up front. I think we gave up just 1 sack. And the stats on this kind of back things up. We were at 8.2 yards per play, 7 for 10 on third down, 5 for 5 in the red zone. I thought overall the defensive front, you just did your job. You got the stop, you scored. You got the stop, you scored. And that was that trend, I think, from the Maryland game, where in the second half it was get the stop and score, get the stop and score. And Devin Bryant's yelling at everybody in the locker rooms at halftime. So it just felt very good. I mean, 49 points on 11 offensive drives. We moved up in the rankings for points per game. We're at 31 now, but top third of the country. Coming off a game where you've scored less than 2 touchdowns. Fantastic if you kind of look at the season overall. After that fumble on the first drive, did anybody else clinch up after that bad snap?
100% yes.
I wasn't in the stadium, but I heard everyone in the stadium was like, you heard like a 25,000, 30,000 person just gasp of air, like, here we go again.
Well, yeah, I mean, after that, and then the punt on drive 2, we went on to score touchdowns on 7 of our next 8 drives. They blitzed 57% of the time. We gave up 1 sack, still had 200 yards rushing, 500 yards of total offense. The drives themselves were not short drives. 61-yard drive, 61-yard drive, 68, then 90, then 3 75-yard drives in a row, then 87. Felt good. I mean, that's kind of the main things I wanted to cover just from an overall standpoint. Obviously, anybody who watched the game kind of felt good about it, but it was good to bounce back in that fashion without the stars.
Noah, what did you think?
Yeah, I mean, you look at this game, and I think it's one of those, it kind of gives you reassurance that we really can bully a lot of the teams in this league. You start to really see like the echelons of teams and the tiers of teams. But I mean, anytime you get a bounce back, like Izzo said, coming off that Madison game, I mean, for me, man, that was just a heartbreak game. And for us to kind of see like the future of the program really step up in a game like this. A stat I saw that I thought was absolutely iconic was out of 22 offensive starters, 9 of them were true freshmen.
Yeah,
I mean,
so amazing.
Yeah, I mean, you just see Jed. He knows he knows how to recruit. He knows how to play guys early, and you can tell that's a pitch of his when he's recruiting these young bucks. When he's telling them like, "Hey, come in. There's spots available. Open competition. Best player plays." I think it just shows another super efficient game for DeMond. 16 of 19, 257, 2 touchdowns, no picks. We scored a touchdown on 6 straight drives. I mean, it was just like one of those games where we kind of did what we want when we wanted to. And I think that yeah, it was at home, and yeah, we've struggled on the road, and we've looked super efficient, super just like kind of a powerhouse at home. Coming back for the fans, them seeing that, I think was huge. The other thing that was kind of nice was, how about at the end, you saw Kai Horton get in the game, Riker Moon, Warren Moon's son. I mean, those kinds of things, getting those walk-on type players in the game late, it just shows that, we value those guys. Those guys mean something to the team, and it's fun. From a defensive perspective, man, 267 yards allowed. Couple guys, I won't get too deep into it, man, but you're really starting to see some of these veteran heads, man, on the defensive line really show out. I'll get into that as we get more into the defense, but it was a good game to get back to Montlake and just kind of play a little bit of bully ball.
I love doing these obviously like recaps of a game that we just did what we were supposed to, and we get to go through the stats. It's so hard as we open up the game and start to talk about it, not to like dive into players, because I mean, Adam Muhammad, Jordan Washington, the linebackers. I know Mike wants to talk about the linebackers situation.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's get into it.
I think the linebackers, I'll be honest with you though, for me, what stuck out the most was the offensive line. It was, in my opinion, the most dominant we've seen the offensive line. I think we see that Champ is the truth. And you saw it when Jed was asked about it in the press conference after the game. Like, he's like, Champ is really good.
I poo-pooed it. I was like, no way.
But it feels good to have that, like, to see it with your own eyes and see, like, John Mills looks more natural at tackle than he looks at guard, in my opinion. Like, he filled in that role for Azzo so well. I feel so much more confident that if we have an injury at one of the tackle spots, even though I don't think Azzo is going to be playing this week, that we have a guy that can fill that slot and not just be okay, be actually really, really good. And, three freshmen, Pocky's a redshirt freshman, but three freshmen on the offensive line, and to go for 500 yards and to bully a team running the ball on them like that. Yeah, that felt really good. So let's actually do this. Let's dive into the offense first, because it was just, like I said, it was just so much fun to watch, even though we had two of our three stars out of the game, and we still are able to put 49 points on the board. Yards all over the place. My guy Jordan Washington, like a monster. You know what I'm saying? So how about we kick this off? Izzo, I know you got stats for that ass, so let me know. Let's get into it.
Adam Muhammad, 17 carries, 59 yards, 3 touchdowns in the first half. He had the 27-yard catch as well. The look of him and Jordan Washington on the field together, like Mike was talking about, boy, that is a dangerous backfield for the future.
That's thunder and lightning. I mean,
yes, there we go. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean,
hey, Izzo, let me ask you a question though. Tell me that Jordan Washington, when he hit that sideline and that guy was coming up and that he hit that fifth gear, that didn't remind you of John Ross, bro?
Yes, it did. That's a great call. Yeah, like 4.2 speed, no fluff on the 4.2 either. Like, that is true breakaway. Like, and you get him going, get him some space. He's an absolute secret weapon.
I love that. I love that play too, because you saw the whole offensive line shift to the right, and it was like an option run for him, like some sort of like outside-ish zone, but definitely that zone scheme, maybe that inside zone. I'm not sure what that play call was, but you saw him go like gap, and just boom, and it was absolute just lightning, man. I mean, what is he like? Is he a 4.26 kid? I mean, 4.25.
Yeah.
He looks like it.
That's what they're confidently saying out of camp, is like he's a 4.2 guy. We'd be remiss to not call out the absolute huge factor that maybe doesn't show up on screen for kind of folks who aren't diving deep into rewatching the game and stuff. But Quentin Moore, man.
Yep.
I mean, I know Jed talks about him all the time, but you saw what we talk about every week pretty much on this podcast with him. He is an absolute mauler in the run game. He poses a threat enough through the pass that you have to account for him. It's not just like a gimme that he's just in there to block. But he sprung a lot of that, and as we think about next year with these young guys, I think that's a piece that, we may need to address. And I don't know we haven't seen enough from who else is on the roster in the kind of in the deeps with Baron Naoni and Cade Eldridge, but we will see. That's a hard thing to replace, and you might we'll see what happens in the portal if they prioritize that. But yeah, what were you gonna say, Noah?
No, you said it is in Jed's presser. He talked a lot about Quentin Moore and just what he gives to the offensive line, adding that addition when they run the rock, right? His specific thing was Baron Noyone will take that next
and Crowell.
Yeah, exactly. He mentioned Charlie Crowell. I talked to Charlie Crowell in the in I think it was a spring game or maybe that fall camp game. He talked about he hurt his lower back, but he expects to make a full recovery. So both of those guys, I think, are going to like kind of take that crown from from Q Moore. It'll be a tough one to wear, man. Just because how good he was. But I think Jed expects a lot of big time ball play from those guys.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah. He fits the size, they do that 6'4", 6'5", 250. That's the guy they are. And then also, I mean, Cade Eldridge kind of fits into that role as well, even though Jed said he's going to be playing more of like a fullback role, H-back role kind of next year.
Yeah. And the other guys, but we should definitely mention, you had Audric, obviously, with the 2 catches and the 90 yards with the long touchdown. He had Desmond, again, Mr. Consistent as a freshman, 3 catches and a touchdown. And then Decker, as we call out Quentin, I think he had 5 catches and 91 yards as well. And so they kind of peppered that seam, those Y cross concepts with him.
Hey, Izzo, can I say something on Decker real quick? Mm-hmm. You started to kind of hear a little bit of chatter on Decker. I think there's been some people who expected Decker to really kind of make that next jump, this year. And because he had such an elite freshman year. I'm actually looking up his game log really quick as we talk, but you kind of saw it. I mean, 4 catches early on, 1 catch, 2 catches. He had the 6 catches against Maryland. But I feel like steadily they've been trying to really target him more. Mm-hmm. I think it's just interesting to look at Decker finally get his feet under him, and not just like the 4 catches for 35 yards, but actually have like a big, like almost 100-yard receiving game. Kind of props to him. It's nice that he was the leading receiver in that game on Saturday.
Yeah,
so
some of that's the product of the expectations that come with being a true freshman All-American and on that team, right? So I think as he progresses, he will get better. It seems like he's too much of a football guy to kind of not progress in those places. And man, if there's anybody that you can trust with this stuff, think about the steps that the offensive line has taken underneath Coach Switz. Yeah, and I think a couple years with him, Decker can come out and be like a really willing blocker. So anyways, I overall, just on the offensive side of the ball, I thought we showed that we can still be a top 25 yards per play type of offense without wide receiver 1, without running back 1. And it kind of shows at least that depth on the offensive side. And I think that exists at certain positions on the defensive side, but that depth on the road is kind of maybe what cost us some, Wisconsin type things. And then I think in other games it was scheme, but it's encouraging that we saw this combination up front on the offensive line, and that it, like Mikey was saying, was the most encouraging offensive line game of the season. Obviously it's Purdue, if we're keeping it in context, but
still a Big Ten opponent though.
It is. Yeah.
Hey, no, I got a question for you.
Let me hear it.
What did you think about that catch by Omari Evans?
Little one-handed leather,
bro.
That was an unbelievable catch.
Big play, Omari.
Man, it's one of those things with Omari that I think if you just can get him on the field consistently, I think he is a big catch, man. He's got that Robert Horry gene in him, man. I mean,
I like that.
Big catch Bob, man. I mean, but seriously, he's dynamic. 3 catches for 60 yards, average 20 a catch, 43-yard bomb, talking about down the sideline. Guys, when they get opportunities, it's what you do with those opportunities. And sometimes you take those opportunities and you don't give them back. So, I mean, is Amari going to be one of those guys that does that? It'll be nice to see. We're going to need him down the stretch. So having big catches like that, the coaches aren't going to want to keep you off the field.
What did you think about the rest of the offense?
Yeah, I mean, balance. I like the balance. I mean, 294 passing to 212 rushing. I like that a lot. The biggest thing that I thought was we really did kind of flex our depth a little bit, because that's what we saw against Wisconsin that we struggled with. It was nice to come back, get a full week of practice. And I think the week of practice helped when you guys had like Coleman, Boston, Hatchett, as a party. All those guys didn't play. I think it really settled us in to maybe go into that young offensive line that we had. What it makes me think of, though, is when you look at an offensive line like we played against Purdue, what is the size of the offensive line next year? I mean, probably 320-ish on average across the board, maybe even like 325. Just absolute units across the front. That I wanted to mention this really quick. I looked this up as we were talking. Dude, Champ is 6'5", 330 as an 18-year-old.
He was 330. He's probably closer to 345. That dude is big, bro.
But he don't even wear it. He don't wear it bad. Yeah, he don't. Yeah, I don't know if you can bring this up, but you should as we're talking. That picture of Cody. You don't have to do it now, but I'm talking about when you edit. But that picture of Cody. I mean, if I tweeted this out, but if this isn't plug and play, I don't know what is, man. I mean, he looks like an NFL left tackle right now, and that's not an exaggeration.
Yeah.
Do you guys think like Azzo's going to leave next year, and that's why he's going to come in and play, or how do you guys see that playing out? Because right now it looks like it's going to be Mills and Azzo as your starting tackles.
I will say this.
That's a good question, Mike.
It's a great question, Mike. I will say this. I would be hard pressed to believe Azzo leaves, but there is going to be, and this is just an embarrassment of riches, and people can comment on this, and I don't even care. If you have Azzo Party having to fight for his job, that means that the University of Washington has some elite talent on the offensive line. Not even so much because I'm like, Azzo Party is that elite guy. It's just he's been a back-to-back year starter, and now you're saying we have somebody else that can take his spot. That means that there's some really good freaking offensive linemen on this football team.
So Cody left tackle.
Yep.
Azzo Party right tackle.
Sure, that's fine for now.
Pocky left guard, and then Champ right guard, and then what do you
do with Mills?
Oh my gosh!
Right.
That's what I'm saying is what do you do with Mills? I mean, like, and that's kind of thing what Mikey's saying is, dude, does Mills take over at right guard, right tackle?
You got to think that maybe Champ is like your swing guy who is definitely going to play, and then Mills is starting at one of the guard spots, or it's Mills at a tackle spot and you move Cody inside, but I just can't. I can't picture Cody on the interior offensive line. He just looks like an NFL tackle.
What I worry about is Cody having Big Ten strength right out the jump. Maybe he does. If he does, that's crazy. That would be the only thing I could see that would keep him off the field. Or maybe because Cody is the young guy, he swings.
There's no way that Cody doesn't start. Is my opinion.
So one thing you have to
money wise,
yeah. One thing you have to remember is sometimes when you have elite tackles as true freshmen, they start game, 4 games as an interior offensive lineman, then you push them out. Or sometimes they play the whole year as your left guard or your right guard, and you bump them out to the tackle position just because it kind of gives you that protection on both sides. But I'm telling you, that picture of Cody Green, man, I'm telling you,
he looks like a college player. He looks like a Big Ten.
I promise you, every Oregon Duck fan down south, and they will, if they ain't stupid, they would just admit this and be like, yeah, they are seriously bummed out they missed on that kid.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
Do you think any of those guys could bump in and play center?
Probably not.
I think Jed Fisch really likes Landon Hatchett at center, man. Yeah, I really do.
Agree.
You remember I texted you guys that? I was like, did he lose his job? And then someone asked another question, and Jed was like, no, it's 100% because he's wearing that club on his hand.
Yeah.
I will say, if we have Henning,
who's a big guy,
you need to have clean snaps, though, dude. That's it's not.
Agreed. No.
Yeah, it's not like a blocking ability thing. It's like what Landon brings is a leadership piece and as clean snapping.
Yeah.
When he's not having a huge club on his hand, obviously.
Do you think snapping? This is something I just thought of when you said this. Like you said, you have to have clean snaps. Do you think snapping might be a little bit like shooting a free throw?
I don't know.
Maybe
I saw you smirk when I said that. I was like, I wonder what he's cooking up.
Well, because I'm thinking like some guys can shoot free throws and like in their sleep, they're just like wet, and then some guys are like great shooters, and they get up and it's like anxiety for them to make it right. But it's the same thing when you get when a quarterback gets under your butt, gives you a little tap. I think some guys shotgun or under center, whatever it is, it's like it's tough for some dudes, and that's why you need a very kind of you need a certain type of person to play center, man.
Well, and it was, I mean, to be honest with you, if you take out those two plays, Henning played phenomenally. Like that, like I said, the whole line did, but it's not easy to just be thrust in there at center. And like I said, you take away the two snaps and everything else was really good. And Jed Fisch mentioned that. He was really, really happy with what Henning did. And Henning is one of those big bodies too, like that Big Ten kind of offensive line where I know Landon's a little bit smaller. He's 6'2", what is he, like 310 maybe? And we've seen smaller centers at Washington be extremely successful with Nick Harris
I don't even
and
know
Parker.
And not to interrupt you, I don't even know if that's small for a center, really. That's pretty much exactly. That's like 6'2", 310. That's kind of like right in line with what you're looking for, honestly.
But Henning is like 6'4", 6'5".
Yeah.
And he's like that 330. Like he's a big guy, and he's not going to get pushed around by another 300-pound defensive lineman.
Yeah. I think the takeaway is like the future of the offensive line looks very good, very good, regardless of how it shakes out. It's almost like it gets cleaner if as a party just goes to the NFL.
Yeah. All right. Is there anything else about the offensive performance you guys want to make sure we touch on before we move on to the defense?
Hanging 49 with Denzel Boston and Sweats is not a bad deal.
All right. Well, now
and Jonah Coleman.
Yeah.
And Jonah. I mean, yeah, that's crazy. But let's flip to the defensive side in the ball. It is what, the third straight game we haven't given up more than 13 points? Am I correct on that? Because
I don't know if I even noticed that.
I think it's the third straight game we haven't given up more than 13
points.
No,
we gave up 25 against Illinois, but I like if you did that on purpose, Mike, I can appreciate that. If you're taking 14 points off the board against Illinois,
I did that just because Izzo said it. Yeah, I meant to do it. But regardless, it's another performance where our defense isn't giving up. Like I said, they're just looking more and more elite. And I'm telling you what, this led by the linebacker and core. I don't know if Manu and Buddha are going to come back to starting jobs because X-Ray and ZRS look better and better every single week. No, I'm going to start with you on this one. When you're looking at the defense and what they did on Saturday, what are you taking from it? Because like I said, I still know it's Purdue and their offense isn't very good, but they showed a lot again. How are you feeling and what's sticking out to you?
100% a Ryan Walters revenge game. And he knew it. He didn't want to talk about it before the game. The players knew it, and the players showed out for him, which I absolutely love. Means they love their coach. But 0 points in the first half of this game, 13 total, 13 on what would we call this? Seriously, guys, like was that kind of our second string-ish when they kind of got a couple things going? I mean, if you leave your starters in this whole game, do you shut these guys out?
You're close. It might
be a 49-3, 49-6 type game. I don't know if they score a touchdown. Dude, they didn't get in the red zone until that late touchdown in that game. I mean, it's just something that just a long stretch of 3 and outs for Purdue. You know, we talked about this in the Purdue in the Purdue preview, but remember how we said that they would really try to bring in that Malachi Singleton kid and really try to kind of like take some stuff out of Ryan Brown's, you know, kind of take some stuff off him. He ended up, I'm going to look this up as we talk. I think he ended up with, what is this? Yeah, 11 carries, only had 22 yards, ended up getting sacked multiple times, but I didn't think they would actually run him that much. I thought he would run like 6-ish times, but I think Efi, Takario
forced it.
You can't throw on those guys. They're too big. And it's lockdown central, man. And people can say what we want. We're 7-3, but are there 3 better defenses in the University of Washington in the Big Ten?
I had a hard time not thinking forward to the Oregon game, and just like they're probably, would you consider them a run first offense? I mean, they rely on the run probably.
Oregon?
Yeah. They're kind of in between. They can do
50-50 balance.
But with their wide receiver issues, I mean, they've had to lead on the run a ton.
I know. It just I try to think about, we don't need to go into that, but or I don't want to dismantle this conversation, but like the football math for them on offense versus our defense at Husky Stadium is going to be really interesting once we get there.
That will be fun for next week, boys and girls. Make sure you tune in. I got a real quick question for you guys both. No, I'll start with you on this one, though.
Yep.
Were you surprised at how much Malachi Singleton actually played? Because when I was watching the film, he seemed to be more of the guy that came in to spell Brown. It was completely the other way. I mean, Singleton played the lion's share of the snaps. Did that surprise you at all?
I mean, it did surprise me, and that's kind of my point was why I brought that up in the preview. I thought we would see him spell, but I didn't think Ryan Brown would only have 6 pass attempts. I mean, Malachi Singleton is very much known for his legs, but he ended up throwing the ball 28 times in this game. Yeah. And the thing that I noticed, and I think the Purdue staff noticed it, dude, nothing came easy in this game for them. I mean, absolutely nothing. I mean, 100 rushing yards. I think they threw for 167 total. But I mean, we had pressure coming all over. We were dropping guys into coverage and we were getting home with 4. Yeah. Another big game for Deshaun Lynch.
He's a monster, bro. An absolute beast.
You can't take him off the field.
Same thing with Thompson, too.
Yeah, dude. Another batted down ball for Deshaun Lynch. Here's a fun one for you. 6 batted down balls by Deshaun Lynch, tied for the nation lead with 6.
Wow, that's fantastic.
And then CRS. I mean, goodness, he is turning into when's the last
linebacker on the team, maybe?
Oh, I mean, for sure. When's the last time you had a guy come in, 4, 5, 6 games into the season and make this much of an impact?
I've never seen it.
It's Thompson. Shaq Thompson is the last one I could think of.
Yeah, I mean, it's rare. You know what was interesting, too, is in Ryan Walters' presser, he talked about how what we're seeing from these teams is making I wouldn't say forcing us, but it's allowing us to play a lot of cover 3. And one of the media guys said, like, can you expand on that a little bit? And he said it's just because we have such elite players on the back end that it's making us play more cover 3, which to me says a lot about our safeties. That he trusts those guys too.
DRS is coming off of a torn ligament in his knee as a true freshman and having this impact. That's incredible. Another couple, like it was Jed called it on the presser, like the four senior guys on the defensive line. Butler had an amazing game. Elenius Davis had an amazing game.
Butler had 7 pressures in this game.
Yeah. It's starting to come together up front. And what's interesting, we'll talk more about this as we talk about UCLA, but Coach Skipper for UCLA was like, they flood the box and play man on defense. And it's like, okay.
When you have 6'4", it's exactly what you can do. You know what I mean? I mean, when you can literally have 2 cover corners, that's why our defense, I'm telling you, that's why our defense is so difficult to get like long possessions on. That's why I was so pissed about us fumbling the ball against Wisconsin, is because not any team can score on. I mean, we haven't given up more than 24 points all year, boys.
Yeah. But that's my point, is like the flexibility that what you talked about allows us, that we can drop into cover 3 and not necessarily go. We can do kind of whatever we want to on defense. And what's interesting about that is that the sacks, like the number of sacks and for the team stat or whatever, probably is not top 50, I would guess, just because of the front end of the schedule where teams were just getting the ball out immediately. As we broke down this game and talked about it before it started, we knew that they would have to do something with Singleton. But it's crazy to think that they switched up their scheme that much, because the only explanation that there is for that is that before the game, they knew they would really, really struggle on offense, and that they were to the point that they were like, we're going to change up everything and do split quarterback snaps and lean towards the guy who hasn't played as much. Like nine pass attempts for Brown is wild.
6, even lower. Yeah.
So let me ask you guys this then. I mean, do you guys remember back all the way to the Colorado State game when we were kind of worried about the offensive and defensive lines not being as dominant as we were hoping, getting pushed around a little bit? Now we're in week 10 and we're starting to see both of our lines, especially this past week, starting to dominate and push around people like a Big Ten offensive line. Our Big Ten lines in the trenches in general. How do you feel that might change the opinions of Washington moving forward? Because if we're really a Big Ten team and we're winning in the trenches, our skill positions already are up there with the elite in the conference. Which one do you guys want to take that one?
Oh gosh. I mean, I think we all know where it's headed, right? Extend Jed Fisch is what I'll say to it.
Ooh, I like that.
It might be a hot take. People might get mad at me about that, but man, if this, just like we were talking about the future of this offensive line, future the defensive line looks good and it's not over too. Like hint towards what we're doing on the recruiting trail. Like you have Derek Coleman, Bruce, and these guys coming in. You have Jacob Lane. You know, you kind of retool some of that interior defensive line. You're bringing in the kid from Colorado, that young freshman. The future looks so bright in the trenches. I mean, you kind of said it, Mike. I don't know if you have anything to add, Noah.
You can't win in the Big Ten without elite trench play. That's just a fact. And you know what? Here's the deal: you could beat some of the more lower echelon teams in the Big Ten, but the problem is if you don't have depth in your trenches, you can lose to some of those lower echelon teams. If we continue to reload and kind of keep recruit this team, keep them together, we're gonna be just fine going forward.
You rewind 2 months ago, and you had Kafusi catching a ton of flack, for recruiting stuff or whatever, guys he missed on or whatever. I don't mean this as any shot. This is like just speaking towards how highly touted the defensive line players have been to perform at this level with no 5-star guys, not many blue chip guys on that defensive line, man. You got to give a tip of the cap to that on the defensive side of the ball. And then the night and day difference between what Brennan Carroll was doing with the offensive line last year. And I get it. 6 scholarship, players on offensive line coming into camp versus what you have now. But Switz, man, what a fantastic coach he is too. Like as I was thinking about this podcast, I was just thinking about how important your position coaches are in that development. And our position coaches are phenomenal. If you think about it, just contextually and how the groups are performing, like I love our position coaches, all of them.
It's kind of crazy to think that, 10, 12 months ago, we were talking about, we're losing Carroll and Belichick. Crazy to say those two names. And to think that we've gotten into a place where, does it feel like we have upgraded both of those?
Yeah.
And it's pretty significant.
That's why I'm saying, like, those are the things that you have to recognize when we talk about the Jed Fisch stuff. Like, those are little things that get lost in the context of underperforming in Wisconsin, losing on the road at Michigan, those types of things. So
I'm gonna ask this right now. I know we'll get to some of these questions later, but one of the most crafty messengers in the Discord, Lefty, asked, "What do you think the over under is on the number of staff changes for next year?"
Ooh, good call.
I wonder. I mean, wouldn't you put it probably like at just a solid 1?
Yeah,
I wonder the over under is 1.
I wonder if John Richardson gets offered like a DC job somewhere, something like that. I don't know enough behind the scenes stuff about what position coaches are getting offered. That would be a whole podcast to break down that web of opportunities, but I don't know. I don't know if.
So my thought on it is the reason why I wanted to put it at 1 and not like a 0.5 is because I think if you have such an elite type defense, which I think we're showing, you got to think, to your point with like Jay Rich or one of our other coaches, you got to think that there's other staffs across the country that want to offer our just like DB coach or our inside linebacker coach. They want to say, hey, come coach our inside linebackers and we'll also make you co-DC. We'll also make you co-offense, co-head coach or whatever that is. It's just very rare that you keep an elite type defense together from a staff perspective without some attrition, some movement.
Oh, yeah.
Now you're probably not. I know everyone, like you said, is calling for Kafusi's head and stuff like that. It's hard to fire dudes when you haven't given up more than 24 points all year.
Yeah, no kidding. And the way that the interior defensive line and the edge group has performed specifically too, considering the players that you have the position as well and how much they've progressed.
Didn't remember, we had Deuce Davis injured for the whole year. Isaiah Ward hasn't played in weeks.
Yep, he's hurt.
So I mean, our rotation has been very much like just very slim, and so in turn, for us to just be as successful as we've been, with the bodies that we've had available,
Dude,
it's
Deshaun
pretty
Lynch.
impressive. Dude, that's what I mean.
To your point, that's a highlight right there. Like, just in terms of a guy who made an enormous leap year over year, that it's super measurable. It's not a secret. But anyways,
real quick though, because I know Lefty would want to know this, is who do you think is the prime targets to move? If you were gonna be putting odds on it and you were Vegas, who do you think is 1 and 2 as far as guys that would be most likely to leave if anybody left at all?
I would say Jimmy Doherty.
From an offensive perspective. I mean,
I'm talking about period across the board.
I'm surely not saying I have any information on this, but I actually think you kind of pulled a rabbit out of a hat just on a guess. And I think you might be right, bro. Is Jay Rich?
Yeah, I think if there's
because
one,
I think he's just been so successful, dude. Like, I mean,
yeah, it's hard to argue. There's literally no knock in his coaching game. I mean,
there's really not, dude.
Coaching, players following him, like things like that. Where, yeah, I think if there's anybody who's going to get, there's 2 guys that I think would get offered an increased like in role, and I think that would be substantial enough to leave what is being built right now, but it's just impossible to know what available opportunities are out there, So, but I would think it would be either John Richardson, our cornerbacks coach, our DB coach, and Jimmy Doherty, for the simple fact that his role currently doesn't allow him to probably do everything. And I think he has a really good reputation and a strong argument for some head coaching jobs or some OC jobs, like official OC jobs, not head coaching jobs.
Okay.
I could be wrong.
No, but I think that's solid, because I mean, you are seeing people I don't think everybody seems to realize that Jedd Fisch calls the plays, because I see a lot of people, especially when you're watching the national pundits talk about the University of Washington, they're talking about it like Jimmy Doherty's the one calling plays. I've actually heard them specifically say that on TV and things like that. I'm like, you guys really don't do your homework before watching these games, because it's Jedd Fisch's offense and Jimmy Doherty is there as his
it's almost like an OC in way. It's like the role itself calls for him to go to get a OC job that actually where he is calling plays, because he's been underneath Jedd Fisch for a while.
Yeah. All right. Is there anything else you guys want to talk about for this Purdue game, or should we start looking forward to UCLA?
Let's do it. There's more we could talk about just in terms of, but no, let's just go for it.
All right. Real quick before we move on, make sure you go down to that link in the bio and join our Discord, where all this stuff is being talked about constantly. I'll get more into that later, but let's look at UCLA. UCLA has been really a interesting up and down season for them. They start off 0-3. Everybody's like, oh, they're crap. They fire their whole, it seems like their whole coaching staff. Next thing you know, they win 3 in a row. Young Neuheisel seems to be an offensive guru at 30-something years old, looking like he can still play. And then all of a sudden they lose another 3 in a row. And we're going to LA into the Rose Bowl playing a 3-7 UCLA team. But we also have lots of issues going down to UCLA playing at night in the Rose Bowl. We've seen it in the past.
I wonder if everyone realizes this could very much be the last regular season game that UCLA ever plays in the Rose Bowl.
Yeah.
Sounds like the contract is going to get finalized, if it hasn't already, that they're going to move to SoFi Stadium, which is the Chargers and the Rams game. I sure hope we got those college football playoff games there. I mean, it is such an iconic venue. I'm pumped for Izzo.
Yeah,
dude, Izzo's going to be down at the Rose Bowl, and I just
excited.
think it's going to be something that you'll remember. It's a bucket list item, man. I mean, I think it's the Santa Ana Mountains at 4:30, man. When that sun starts to hit, try to get to the game a little early because it'll darken
definitely
out.
Yeah.
But I mean, like when it hits, I mean, dude, it's an iconic venue. That building has given Washington a lot of memories, man, and maybe a lot of scars. In our last 10, I think our last 10 regular trips down there, I think we're one for our last 9.
Wow, you're kidding. Games. I didn't know it was that drastic.
The spread opened up at 11.5. It's sitting right at 10.5, over under at 51.5. Listen, man, this is an interesting game to really preview because this is a Nico football team. I mean, it's Nico in. They can create some problems, and you kind of saw that ceiling against Penn State. Nico out, man. Luke Duncan. It's just a team that it's just the whole philo of the team. You hear me talk about philosophy, and I mean, it's a completely different ball game. So let's get into it. Izzo can kick us off.
Izzo, break down what you think as far as an overview of this game.
To give you some quick stats here, and this is going to be pro UW, but they stand out, and I think it's impossible to not see this narrative when you watch these two teams. But Washington on offense, we're at 31 points a game, which is 39th nationally. We're at 406 yards a game, which is 46th nationally. Okay. But you're at 6.2 yards per play. That is 25th in the country. Third down percentage. This is the big one. We are top 10 in the country. And we've talked about it each week. For them on defense, their opposing third down percentage is dead last in FBS at the 136th team in the country. In opposing third down conversion percentage.
When they get into third down, they are the worst in the country at actually converting that.
When they are defending on third down, they are the worst at keeping teams from getting first downs in the country. When you're going up against Damon Williams, it's not going to be ideal. They're giving up 33 points a game, which is 114th in college football. Their yards per game allowed 72nd. Their opponent red zone scoring is 85%, which is about 81st in the country. We're converting in the red zone at 91.18%, which is top 25 in the country. Drastic difference from last year. And I think Quentin Moore is a big reason for that. Look, we're taking a top 25 yards per play offense down into the Rose Bowl against the 113th scoring defense.
Wow.
So we talked about this before we got onto the pod. How much of a trend do you glean from the losses on the road this year? And we don't have that 37-degree blowing snow and freezing rain in our face in this game. And we just put up 49 on a defense that's probably better than this one. Yes, at home, but without Denzel Boston and Jonah Coleman. And we expect that Jonah's probably going to be back for this game, based if you're kind of reading into what Jed was saying. So I just think those are the main kind of aspects to this game that I think are way too much to overcome for UCLA. Eye test wise, there's coaching stuff that you watch when they are on defense against decent offenses where they're just not sound. They don't have good gap integrity on the defensive line. That, I would expect maybe Noah sees this game a little bit differently, and I'll pitch it over to you in a second here. But I kind of see us doing something similar to what we did against Purdue, where it's kind of run first, frankly, and extend drives like we've been asking for multiple weeks now, and we saw against Purdue, and kind of wear them down a little bit. And I think that their defensive line and frankly, their secondary too, but like their linebackers and defensive line look especially exploitable in this game against Adam Muhammad, Jonah Coleman, Jordan Washington, however you want to spell that out. I think it'd be a cool game to get creative with the running game there too. And if you want to do Demond runs and they want to stack the box and blitz Demond a bunch, okay, then, do the end around stuff like we saw with Jordan Washington, get Demond outside of the box, run the play action. I think there's clear ways to scheme to win this game with play action and stuff like that. And you saw Ohio State do it. You saw Nebraska do it. I think, yeah. The Nebraska. I'm super interested in this. If this coach tries to with that John Vaughns, that dude is an absolute just like tackle machine, dude. I mean, I think he has 97 tackles on the year. Do you think they try to spy Demond with him? Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Definitely.
I think this is the game to answer your question. I think this is a 40 plus run attempts for UW in this game.
Mm-hmm.
They give up 195 yards a game on the ground, which is like 123rd in the country. I was bringing this up as we were talking. 194.2, 123rd in the country. We rushed for right around 165, which is right around 50th in the country. And I mean, this is something where if you establish the run early, I do think if Denzel doesn't play, I think you have to think to yourself, Skipper's going to say, I got to load the box, try to shut this run down, make Damon Williams go 10, 12 plays per drive. Don't kind of lower down the explosiveness that we saw versus that they watched on film versus Purdue. And once again, you have to say to yourself, can we make UW create a turnover? That's the only way we win this game. Can the UCLA defense create turnovers? And that's the only way we lose this game is if we turn the ball over. And so this ain't the 85 Bears, boys. I mean, this is a team who just doesn't have the guys on the defensive side of the ball. They have some names and they have some athletes, but to sit here and say that we shouldn't just be able to run the ball down their throat all game is just isn't the truth, man. I mean, this is a 40, 42, 45 attempt type game.
Well, it's funny that you say that. When you watch, we're talking about both sides of the ball before we just get into the offense versus the UCLA defense. They seem to be susceptible on the offensive line. They seem to be susceptible on the defensive line. Wide receivers dropping balls. Nico is really good. I don't think he's got a lot of guys around him. What I do notice about them, though, on both sides of the ball, they seem to have this ability to make explosive plays in important moments and then fumble it, if that makes sense to you guys.
It's like they're not coached very well, and it's obviously they came from a objectively bad head coach to now an interim guy.
Really quick, Mike, before you go more into this, is with Skipper, I'm sorry, when you're in the middle of a season, you have a coaching change, you can inject a little bit of like rah, try to change just like the dynamics in the locker room, but you can't teach a guy to tackle better in the middle of the season.
That's real.
You can try to get the guys in the film room. You can try to have them eat better. You can try to have them do some change up the schedule, but it's hard to make better football players just in the middle of the season, just because you injected a new coach.
And they know the season's a wash too, and that's sitting in the back of their subconscious too.
So especially now compared to when they went on their little 3-game winning streak, when they started, and that made them feel like there was a chance, especially beating Penn State and all that. And you saw it in the 3 games that followed where they would get those big plays and then be able to lean on it. Because especially when they're on offense, if they can lean on the run, that's one of the few places they've been pretty successful. But since then, the last 3 games, or is it 4 games, they'll have a big play and then the defense they're playing or the offense that they're playing will tighten up and they won't be able to take advantage of it and end up just, like I said, losing because they're just not as good as the teams that they're playing. But let's look at the UW offense and what we're going to do to the UCLA defense. We've already kind of talked about the run is where we want to start. Why is that?
The teams that they've lost to these last few weeks, that's the roadmap that they kind of showed out. If you look at Nebraska and Ohio State was just taking chunk yards and staying on the field. Nebraska was using the run to set up the pass in the way that they would do exactly what we should do. Frankly, they have kind of a dual threat running back or quarterback. They would set up the play action and then he would send the line to the one side and then spill it out to the other side. I just think the blueprint is there. That's why. And I think based off of what we saw from Muhammad, what we know we have in Jonah Coleman, the way the offensive line looks and the way that their defensive line looks on the eye test, we should be able to execute a game plan pretty cleanly. I think that if you find yourself having a harder time moving the ball than you expect, do your Decker DeGraff seam stuff, Desmond Roebuck to get you short yardage completions and get things rolling and go that route. But it feels like similar concepts to what we want every single week. And we saw it being executed against Purdue and look what happened. And I don't think this defense is any better than Purdue's. I really don't. I think it's hard to say that it's substantially worse, but it is worse. It is.
Noah, when you analyze this UCLA defense, what would you actually say if they do have any strengths? Are there strengths? And part of what I'm trying to figure out is, I had asked this question as Wisconsin, could this be a trap game? And I'm going to ask the same one here. if that UCLA defense is clicking, what do they have to do to be beating us? And what players would it be that would be doing it to us?
No, that's a good question. I mean, I think when they're clicking, I think it's because they actually can get into their defensive sets. I think one of the biggest things UW wants to do against these guys is run tempo on them. They rotate a ton of their front seven. They're top 10 in front seven substitution all of college football. So I think when they're set, they're okay. But I want to go huddle plays on them, go no huddle plays on them. I also want to run a ton of screens against these guys.
Yeah, great call.
They're a little bit stronger up the middle, but they're kind of weak on the edges. And I think that's where you can kind of expose them. Jonah Coleman, getting him back and healthy. Jonah Coleman is one of the best pass catching down, especially coming from a screen plays in the country. That is something big for the University of Washington to do against UCLA.
Especially as they spy Demond, to your point.
Yep.
If we're in 3rd and 5, 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7, just to piggyback on what you're saying,
yeah,
that's the antidote right there.
Yep. The other thing is, I think you can attack the middle, man. They play a lot of deep safety, and Decker, man, he should be open. You should have your deep crossers, and who's the killer of deep crossers, man, is Roebuck. He is an absolute king of Roebuck. I mean, of deep crossers, and then skinny posts back to the tight end seams, man. I'm telling you, Decker should have another big game against these guys. You asked me about a player who makes plays. Dude, Scooter Jackson makes plays. I think he leads their team in picks. He's a decent DB. I mentioned John Vaughn. I mean, dude, he's a good player. But when I was trying to watch these guys, the biggest thing I wanted to say was, what do you do against Demond? That's kind of the way I look at any defense, because you have such an elite runner, is what do you do against Demond? I think you try to spy him in this game, and I think that takes John Vaughn out of a lot of maybe kind of what he does best, and being that like tackle volume guy. So we'll see if they have if they have all three. You hear me talk about all three levels to stop UW. The only thing that scares me is this game's on the road. Literally the only thing.
Well, what's crazy is, when you spy somebody, a big part of the spy is you're getting pressure on the quarterback. They only have 7 sacks all season long, and they only have 3 interceptions all season long.
Their best players on their defensive front are their interior defensive linemen.
Yep.
So I mean, it's going to be hard to take a guy out of that and not expect Demond to pick them apart, because when Demond has time, he does it. It looks almost easy to him.
Another thing I noticed, Mike, to your point, it's a great point. They get no organic pressure. And what that means is, like, if they're running their 3 front, they get nothing from those guys. If they're running their 4 front, nothing. They have to simulate pressure all game. And what does that do? It usually leaves something open, something exposed. So if Demond Williams can kind of pick that apart, I think that's going to be another big piece where you see them bring pressure from one of the sides. We hit like Jonah for a screen pass, go right into it, go deep, Decker Graf on a little swizz route, whatever it is. I mean, there's a lot of opportunity to have some chunk plays when you can't get pressure organically.
All right, Izzo, I got a question for you now. What matchups on this side of the ball are you looking forward to, and do you think we can easily exploit?
I think, like Noah pointed out, Decker is the most glaring one. I think Roebuck across the middle, like he said, those things are just going to extend drives and keep them on the field. And I think a kind of a sneaky one that is not an offensive guy on our side versus their defense, but I think a big, obviously, if Nico is going to play, that is going to change things on offense for us, because we can't have any wasted drives. And that'll put emphasis on us really needing to extend drives and have lengthy ones to keep them off the field. If you watch that Nebraska game, that's a really good one to take a look at if you kind of want to see what the pathway for UW is if Nico is playing. So those are the main 2. They have Roderick Pleasant on the outside, and they have another corner, Andre Jordan. Yeah,
Roderick Pleasant, man.
Yeah, he was the guy that we were after. Yeah. So they're okay out there. I have a lot of belief in how we scheme our wide receivers open, but if you're just going football math, the really obvious one seems to be Decker to extend drives, and then Jonah Coleman with the dump offs, and then let your running game do its thing. fresh
Do you think
legs.
do you think in a game like this, you're getting Jonah kind of healthy? Do you think that maybe you give him 12 carries, 12 carries, and then you let Adam Muhammad and Jordan Washington kind of have another heavy load?
Yeah, I do, because of the offensive line, because of how good it looked last week,
All right,
frankly.
What about
here's
Damon's carries though?
yeah, I mean, so here's my no guarantee. 210 plus rushing yards in this game.
Yeah, I think
I don't care how you get it. You get 210 in this game, you win this game for sure.
Like
I would
running
agree with
away?
that statement.
I think what it does is it just completely controls the football game. Whether Nico plays or not, you keep him off the field, you run the rock, the clock runs, you keep it in your possession, you start leaning on these big uglies across the UCLA defensive line.
It means you're limiting turnovers.
By the time third quarter comes, by the time the fourth quarter comes, I'm sorry, when you're a 3-7 football team, half these guys are wondering where they're playing next year. Am I going to get a payday? Do I leave Pasadena because I love playing at the Rose Bowl so much? I'm going to go play, in Piscataway, New Jersey or something like that. I mean, at the end of the day, man, you lean on these boys, you'll have a successful LA road trip.
Yeah. I guess for me, the matchup that I'm the most curious to watch is the interior line, especially if it's Pocky and Champ with Zach Henning, seeing them against what we were talking about being the strength of that defense, which is the interior of the defensive line. I want to see how they hold up pushing around guys. I don't know if they're better or worse than Purdue, but that's what I want to see.
What's interesting is like the eye test when you watch their games is their gap integrity on the interior defensive line is not very good. But like they have some guys who are physically imposing up there that can make stops, but they just have these coaching blunders. Like you can see, it's undisciplined play up front. So I think I totally agree with everything that you just said, but I just wanted to call out that it's weird how inconsistent they are, but it is kind of their strength. There's an argument that their corners are their strength. I don't know. It's their strength for sure in their front seven, in my opinion. I think some of the linebacker stuff is kind of game script, like who they need to stand out in that defensive scheme. But I just figured I would bring that up. Like,
okay,
them in the front seven, but the corners they're okay.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. It makes sense because, like you said, UCLA has a lot of talent. They get good recruits and all that. It's just they haven't been able to put it together for most of the season. And so having those physically imposing guys going against our young offensive linemen can be interesting because there is that space because of the talent there and the size where it could go either way if they are playing on point. But
it feels like gamesmanship from Skipper to bring into question if Nico's going to play because he didn't clear concussion protocol last week. I don't know what the percentages are of people who don't clear concussion protocol with 2 weeks, and they played Ohio State.
Who's their backup?
Luke Duncan.
Yeah, and he was giving him a bunch of kudos and stuff like that. It just feels fake. I feel like Nico's playing.
Well, let's shift and look towards the other side of the ball where the UW defense, who's been so tough the last 2 games, is going against this streaky UCLA offense that looked good against Penn State and Maryland, but then looked terrible against other teams. If Nico is playing, we do know he is kind of like a 6'4" Damon, but he seems to be the only real thing they got. I mean, they have some pretty good running backs, and I think they're averaging 4.9 yards per carry as a team. Izzo, who do they have on offense that we may or may not have to worry about because of what they're doing?
I just want to call this out just before we get into players. Skipper, this is just interesting. Skipper in his presser, when he was talking about what our defense looks like, he brought up that we load the box. I mentioned this earlier, that we load the box, we play man, and that we dedicate everything to stopping the run. If I'm paraphrasing. And I think that lends itself towards just the cornerbacks in our defensive backfield that allows us to fool teams into thinking that we just are selling out to stop the run every single game. But I do think that's going to be a key focus for us because I expect Nico to play. If he does, that's like the factor, I think, as to whether or not that this is just us shutting them down. I'm not afraid of Luke Dunn. I watched the last 2 games. He doesn't. Yes, he seems like poised, but it reads like games management.
Luke Dunn's our punter.
Or excuse me, Duncan.
I'm not afraid of Luke Dunn either.
Duncan.
So yes, thank you.
The double agent.
Yeah. Look, we're taking a top 20 scoring defense into the Rose Bowl, top 25, ish, around that range in yards per play allowed. And now we get to see that identity against a UCLA offense that's been inconsistent overall. I like our DBs against their wide receivers. I don't have a ton on like matchup to matchup because I think that we match up very, very well against this team. We're nails at stopping the run. We have a great defensive rotation there. We're starting to get pressure off the edge. I just have very little that I'm uber concerned about them from an offensive perspective, unless Nico starts to do the backyard football stuff like we saw in flashes against Nebraska, where he was able to bounce out and extend drives with his legs. Outside of that, I don't have any like major concerns for them, and I'll get into it more, but those are kind of my high level thoughts on it.
No, what about you?
I mean, if you look in that Penn State game, I don't think I realized this. He had 16 carries for 128 yards in that game, 3 touchdowns on the ground, 2 touchdowns in the air. I mean, you start giving him confidence, and he gets back into that 5-star mentality, thinking he's the best player on the football field. It can be a long day for you, Sue. So here's a little thought before we get too deep. Does UW spy Nico?
I was just about to ask you that.
And if UW does, who spies? Who spies him?
It's got to be somebody that is as quick as him. So I could see one of the safeties be probably the prime candidate, or maybe play in the 3 safety set that we do, and having that extra safety be the guy that kind of watches him. But you also got to remember is that UCLA plays a lot of 3 and 4 wide receiver sets, like literally the whole game.
Yeah.
So you're going to need a lot of defensive backs out there.
Yeah, I would say like McLaughlin, or if not him, then a ZRS or something like that. Somebody who's athletic enough to bring him down, because he's not a small dude. I mean,
ZRS was kind of my thought. He's actually 6'6". I mean, Nico's he's a big player, man. I mean, he's 6'6", 215, right in that ballpark. But
the only thing that makes me think McLaughlin would be just that he is your surest tackler.
Yeah, it's a good point.
He really is. He really is. And when you're looking at what they're going to do with Nico, they'll put him in the pocket, but their offensive line is not very good at pass protection. So what I notice is they move the pocket a lot. They kind of do, they'll get him out. Not necessarily, it doesn't even look like boots. It just looks like he's kind of rolling to his right a little bit. And then they kind of do like the flood concept with the multiple layers of receivers coming that way. And that was where I saw him have some success on the film. But most of the time he's playing, like Izzo was saying, he's playing backyard football. He drops back, pressure comes up the middle or from one of the sides, and he spills out the other way. That's why when you said a spy, I would definitely spy him, even though he does have the talent to throw and win from the pocket. They don't have the offensive line to protect him, in my opinion.
What's interesting is that they're bottom 3rd nationally in terms of drive efficiency over like 70 yards. I think the official set is over 70 yards, but they are top 5 offense converting in the red zone.
Really?
Yes.
Is that because they only have like 4 attempts in the red zone?
It could be, but yeah. So I think that we need to give them long drives. We might need Luke Dunn to be okay punting the football.
I did. Okay. Can you say that? Can you say that again?
Yeah.
No. So my question is the blueprint for UCLA to get a win kind of the same as Wisconsin, where we have short fields? The field position is definitely in UCLA's favor, on top of turnovers and the same things that we saw against Wisconsin. Is that the only way this ends up becoming a trap game?
Unless Nico we can't contain him and he goes off for like 100+ yards rushing. But
were you surprised? Sorry, I'm sorry. Keep going.
I was just going to say, just because of their lack of efficiency on longer drives, I feel like there's less to be concerned about. But man, I don't want to eat my words again this time. So we have to find a way to contain him, to keep him from just, them scoring 28 points in this game because Nico's exploding and getting outside of the pocket and extending drives with backyard football. With our cornerbacks and their wide receivers, I like that matchup a lot. You just need to keep them out of the red zone as much as humanly possible. I mean, I guess that's like an obvious thing to say, but they're efficient down there. So give them long drives and don't turn the ball over.
Noah?
Yeah, this is, to me, this whole offense is like Nico or bust. I mean, I think we've said that. I don't know what the play calls are for them, but it's something along the lines of like, hey, Nico, go create something special. He hasn't thrown for 300 yards all season, which I think is crazy. To answer your question, Mike, we're going to have to turn the ball over. That stadium is going to be a library.
Yeah.
You might get some more people there just because it's the last regular season game in the Rose Bowl for UCLA. It's a Nico or bust type game for me. It's just one of those things where you kind of saw that ceiling, versus Penn State, but you haven't seen really anything like that outside of that game. They got running back by committee a little bit, with their running back room. I think Berger is probably their best guy, but they don't have anybody in that room like Coleman.
Just like to do the RPO stuff.
Yeah.
So I think the edges have to stay home and they're not going to be able to generate as much pressure, and that's their pathway. But I just think that only gets you so far.
If we can stay disciplined in our rush lanes and don't give him like the opportunity to kind of escape and get out, if we play disciplined football, that's when he throws picks. I mean, his touchdown to interception ratio is only 12-7. I mean, dude, for a 5-star quarterback that got $8 million, man, that ain't nothing. That ain't nothing to write home to mama about. I mean, he's struggling. That's how you beat them. Tackle on the perimeter, keep them in front of you, and make them like Izzo said. I mean, if they're one of the worst teams in the country to have to go the distance, play business ball like I talked about. Don't Damon, don't do anything too crazy. Make these guys beat you by going the field
because we need the win.
Yep.
All right, as we move forward into what we want to see from the UW team, this kind of sparks the debate we were having before we actually went on and started recording tonight. And that's what this team can do on the road, because I think what we all would want to see is for us to come out fast, score some points in the first quarter, and not melt down on the road. Before we got on the pod, that was kind of the debate we were having, where Izzo, your side was kind of saying, yo, we have to take the context of what happened in Wisconsin versus what's happened in other games. And it makes it different, where Noah was saying, hey, I want to see this because we've consistently seen the team fumbling on the road. Noah, let's start with you on this one. What was your perspective as far as what you want to see from them, especially when it comes to playing on the road?
Yeah, for whatever reason, it seems like we just have two different teams. It seems like we just don't score on the road very well. And is it a young quarterback? Is it Jed Fisch? The other piece with this is I struggle to truly believe that this game moves the needle, just like the Purdue game. Go change the narrative. This is a game you play in a big 5-star. Go change the narrative. Go dominate. Punch them in the mouth up front. And have an opportunity to go into that Oregon game, kind of with some momentum.
All right, Izzo?
Yeah, I have a hard time conflating what happened in Wisconsin with what would happen in, a 70-degree kickoff or 70-degree day in UCLA and say that, like, I can take a lot from that game and apply it to this one outside of just the feeling that we don't do well on the road. I'm not ignoring the Michigan game because I do think that there's something there with Demond, with those interceptions, but we are not playing 3 time zones away against a defense that is upper echelon with a super ultra banged up offensive line. We're coming off a game where our offensive line looked as good as it had and as good as it has all year. And we started 2 freshmen on the right side of the offensive line. I think context matters. We have 2 losses on the road this year. I don't feel like we can pull from the Wisconsin game and apply that here because that is a solid front 7 that Wisconsin has and 2 very freaking good inside linebackers that were just dominating. This UCLA team, they're allowing 56% conversion on third down. which is literally worst in college football. That is not Michigan. That is not Wisconsin, right? I'm not there yet.
I will say
but I'm
this:
not there yet.
if we lose this game, Izzo, it's going to be hard pressed to believe that there's not some real concern about our on the road preparation.
No, that's what I'm agreeing with.
Okay.
Like I'm saying if we did, then yes, I would. But also, wouldn't it take Nico to have an amazing freaking game?
I mean, I'm being serious when I said the ceiling thing. I think it'll take Nico to have 2 passing touchdowns, 3 rushing touchdowns, and something like 120 yards rushing on the ground. It's like the Penn State ceiling because I think this defense is just that gettable, and I think we're gonna run the absolute piss out of the ball, man.
Mm-hmm. I
really
think it's not they don't have a strength like Wisconsin did in the front 7 in a game where it's blowing freezing rain at everybody's face in the second half. I
don't think they have the coaching staff like Wisconsin either.
Agreed.
Yeah. So
I guess for me, I guess it's a little bit frustrating because I feel with like that Wisconsin game, one of my frustrations was who we kept in, the personnel that we kept in for as long as we did. And I mean, specifically Fasolo. He struggled all year. And I said it in last week that frustrated me. And then when we saw what the young offensive lineman did this week, it makes me think about all the lost opportunities we had beforehand, where we were starting guys that just couldn't get the job done. And we had the guys that could the whole time. And I wonder if that changes the narrative of what we do on the road, because when we were playing at Michigan, when we were playing at Maryland, when we were playing these road games, I felt like DeMond was under duress those whole games. I felt like he was literally struggling to just get time to throw the ball. And any quarterback, when they get knocked off their spot, constantly ends up looking at what's in front of them as opposed to what's down the field. And I wonder if that narrative changes with an offensive line where we're not going to have to worry about Fasolo playing probably the rest of the year.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't mean to jump on the guy, but he has struggled mightily. And when he's played, that's when literally you watch the Wisconsin game, the 3 drives that he was in, I think 3 plays, 5 plays, and then there was like a 7-play one where they all ended and literally were big on keeping the field position the way that it was. And the 2 penalties, I mean, it's rough. And so I wonder if that's going to change this narrative because we are starting to figure out who those guys are up front.
If we won this game 28-20, would you guys feel good about that?
No.
No. So
I think it depends on how it happened. I don't think I'd be happy, but if say we got out to a 28-7 lead and they scored 2 touchdowns in the second half or in the end of the fourth quarter, I'm probably feeling less bad about it than if it's a struggle the whole game.
So what you're saying, context matters.
100%. I think
I've got Mike in my camp. No,
I think context always matters. I don't think if you look at the Wisconsin game, I don't think you can say anything. I don't think you can disregard the weather. But what I was talking about is when you looked at last week's game against Purdue, where we strapped it up, ran the ball 2-1 to what we would throw it, we were able to dominate them and push the offensive line because we have the guys that can actually do it. Before, I didn't know if we had the guys that could do it. I firmly believe that offensive line that played last week could push around most defensive lines, at least on the run game. I don't know if they could do it in the pass game, but they definitely could do it in the run game. In a game like with Wisconsin, that's what we may have needed to win the field possession battle, to not be 3 and out on so many drives and have to count on DeMond trying to do everything himself.
Yeah.
So
let's get rid of the Rose Bowl ghosts, man. They're not real. Okay.
It would be nice to go. It would be nice to, if it is the last game in the Rose Bowl for UCLA, to go out with a win and bury that ghost and set them to rest. All right. Is there anything else you guys want to touch on as far as this UCLA team?
No, I think we hit it. I got a couple questions on here that I want to throw. We already answered one, and Mike, I don't want to steal your thunder usually doing this, but one of the first questions that we got tonight was, Guess
Who's it from?
it's from
Who's it from?
Snowy on the Discord, and it's kind of the same one that Ginger Ninja asked as well. And it's pretty much like, give me like the hottest flip to UW take. Guesses for who the next flip to UW will be. I'll let you take that one, Izzo.
You're talking about recruiting,
Yeah.
I would assume. Yeah.
If you can't say the name, I mean, maybe a position, maybe, or
Hey, and real quick, if you do want to know the name, go join the Discord because that
Shameless
is
plug.
where my guy will put it. All the good stuff happens in the Discord, and I'll get into that after these questions.
Well, I mean, wide receiver, the guys that we had on campus this week, I would expect that one of those guys flip for sure. And I think you should keep an eye on edge.
Okay.
The flip would knock your socks off.
The other question we have is from Lefty, but I feel like we kind of answered that, and is why is Damon and the team completely different home and away? And I think we dove into that extremely deep.
Context matters. Yeah. Michigan is one to look at, but it's 2 time zones away. It's still early on in his, and it still is right now early on in his career, but I think he's grown since that Michigan game. And I think the Wisconsin game is just like, dude, look at what happened in the second half. Like, just rewatch the second half and ask yourself, is this a demand meltdown, or is like this 37 and screaming rain in your face against a good front seven?
Okay.
I think Big D Newton also wants to know, is Jed taking the UCLA job?
Big D.
Yes, he is. He's there right now. That's
He's
why
actually coaching. Yeah, he's actually coaching for UCLA. Yeah, this weekend. So
all right, you guys. If you guys have any questions for us, make sure go leave them down in the comments. But if not, go into the Discord. The link is down in the bio. Join the Discord. It's free to join. It is literally the best Husky community online, 2,900 strong, and it's free to join. But if you pay that little fee monthly, you can join the VIP part of the Discord where all this insider information is shared with you guys literally on a weekly basis. There's also conversation about the dogs happen 24/7. It is the best place to go get your Husky information and interact with other Husky fans on a daily basis if you want to. So make sure you go do that. And if you got any questions for us, you can leave them in the Discord as well. All right. Now we're getting to our favorite part of the show, and that is our predictions. Predictions for this week, because last week felt good. I mean, we all undershot it considerably, and I think that's kind of a reaction to what happened the week before in Wisconsin. So, Izzo, we're going to start with you on this one. Give us your predictions for the game this weekend.
I think we see the best blend of the last 2 weeks come together in this game. Not well, I'll be careful to say the best blend. I will say a positive blend on both sides of the football show up and show that they will travel. We're not going 3 time zones away. We're not going 2 time zones away. We're staying on the West Coast. We're flying out on Friday. This is a team that is not as good as us, and I don't think the ghosts are real. I don't think the teams that have lost in UCLA are playing on Saturday. I don't think that UCLA is trotting out the teams that we've lost to on Saturday, frankly. Now, with that being said, Nico provides you with an X factor that you have to contend with and you have to come up with a scheme for on the defensive side of the ball. I think Ryan Walters and the guys that we have to contend with that are more than ready to do so. And they know that this narrative exists for them. And I think they're probably pissed. And this is the right game and the right time for where things are kind of falling in line together, that I think that we show this on the road. So I've got us winning 34-20 and covering. And I think that is, I feel pretty confident in that, frankly. I think we put this Rose Bowl funk behind us and put this whole narrative, hopefully to rest.
Okay. I'm going to go next and let Noah hit cleanup this time. For me, I think the ghosts of UCLA aren't going to die that quickly. I think we're going to go in there, and in the first quarter, maybe even the first half, it's going to be kind of a battle. And I could see halftime score being like 21-10, and then us pulling away in the third quarter and fourth quarter and winning 31-13, third game in a row for 13 points given up by the defense. And I think it ends up being a wonderful way for us to leave the Rose Bowl with a W, put the ghost to bed, and come back to Seattle feeling good, getting ready for Oregon. All right, Noah, let's finish us off.
This version of UCLA hasn't defended anyone, man. And I mean, they've given up big plays, big points every single game. Clean game for DeMond. Run game stays efficient. The only way UCLA stays in this game and is if, Nico just goes flat out nuclear. I mean, that's really the only way I see it. I said it, Nico or bust. 31-17 Dogs. I just think you go down there and handle business, come back for Oregon week, and let's get hate week rolling, boys.
Oh, that'll be fun. It'll be fun.
Gosh.
So, all right, you guys, do me a favor. Make sure you go subscribe, like, comment, do all that stuff. Also, that link for the Discord is down in the bio. Fellas, do we got anything else you want to say imparting to all of these dog fans out in Dog Nation?
What if we lost to UCLA and beat Oregon? Would you guys be okay with that?
Yes, I wouldn't like it, but if we beat Oregon, I'll be okay. Especially if it pushes them out of the playoff. Oh,
the narrative stuff about us on the road would kill me, but I would absolutely trade it in a heartbeat for that outcome.
If you could
luckily, we
take
have
it
7
right now,
games at home next year.
That's true. If you could take that, would you take it right now? If that was the offer on the table from the powers that be?
Because I think we can beat both. I'm just gonna say it.
Okay.
Would you take
it? No, would you take it?
Having said that,
right now.
Yeah, if that was the offer that the powers that be, the football gods came down from heaven and said, "All right, you guys, you could have this right now if you want. It'll be an 8-win season, but you'll have beaten Oregon and Wazoo in that season."
Oh my gosh!
It feels like it right now.
Give it to me.
Give it to you. You take it?
Taking it. It's not even that I'm that scared of Oregon. It's just if you can tell me you're guaranteeing you're beating Oregon, for sure.
Yeah, probably.
With all the grief we've received, Izzo's received.
Oh
I
my
mean,
God,
yep.
dude,
it's just such a beautiful thing. It would be.
And it would make for great Twitter arguments for the whole off season.
I'll be unbearable for Duck. I'm telling you right now. The flack that I've been fielding recently in the last couple of weeks, I will be unbearable.
Izzo start acting up. All right. Make sure you guys tune in next week. Same dog time, same dog channel. For Izzo and Noah, I'm Mike Flaunt, and this is the Dubbed Up Podcast. Go Dogs.
Woo! Go Dogs, baby.
Go Dogs. Keep the dubs up. Now let me welcome everybody to the Wild Wild West, a state that's untouchable like Elliot Ness.